Alright, so, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by the talking earth in the corner.
I will cut you.
Oh, attention span done.
Okay, yeah. I that's all I got. Lost my train of thoughts. It's poof gone.
You're an awful storyteller.
Fine, I'll tell a story. So once upon a time, there was a girl named Raz. She was the sweetest girl in the land. But then one day, this evil Dr. Carrot came out to try to steal away all of her pie. Being sad at this, Raz decided to... Okay, kids, what did she decide to do? Come on, how about the storyteller here? It's Mad Lib time.
She decided to...
Kill him with fire.
Kill him with fire! So she went out and got out the biggest, grandest blowtorch in the land and ran out to this carrot and just torched it into flames. The thing is, though, this was not the carrot's final form. No! As the dust crumbled away from his ash-ridden body, he revealed to be that he was actually a...
Tomato!
What? Tomato! There's a tomato underneath! Yes, he was actually Senor Tomato, and he was ready to get back at Raz with a vengeance. So he ran off back home to his land of...
Hookers and ice cream.
Hookers and ice cream to get all the lovely ladies and their magical scoopers of doom to come back and attack Raz. But Raz, she was a very smart gal. Oh, yes. She went out to her own friends and family, who were also known as...
Canadian men.
Canadian men, yes. Raz, raised from birth by Canadian men, knew everything about the Great White North. So she came back to face the Senor Tomato and his army of hookers and ice cream, and they both squared off, and what will soon be known as the Battle of...
The Sombrero.
Sombrero. Battle of Sombrero. Yes, this battle took place on the ancient ruins of Sombrerotopia. The land where they used to worship...
Batman,
yes. And I take this time to quickly quote one of their ancient hymns. Na-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na, Batman. Amen. So, they came onto this ancient holy ground, but first, before the battle had to commence, Raz and Senor Tomato came to the center, and they stood each other in the eye, ready to say their opening death-roaring battle cries. First, Senor Tomato ran up to her shouting,
Butter the onion!
Butter the onion! He said. And in turn, Raz shouted,
for pony.
For pony!
Burp.
There were many
Burp for
ponies
ponies!
that stuck in their boots that day. And oh gosh, it was a gruesome battle. I'll never forget when
The meteor.
the meteor came down crashing from the sky, crushing the poor Team Chocolate Ice Cream. And oh gosh, Team Vanilla, what happened to them still haunts me to this day. Dear friends, this is what... Can you guess what happened?
Barrel rolls?
Prawns.
Do a barrel roll.
Yes. They barrel rolled. They barrel rolled like nothing else. They barrel rolled themselves to death. Yes, to death, my friends. But fear not. The battle was quick and swift for many of them. And in the end, Rasweetie stood triumphant over Senor Tomato. But she did lose a few of her friends in the fight. Like Sasquatch, for example, that brave beast. He went and took on the Napoleon squad by himself, slashing through the vanilla and strawberry and chocolate in one tasty blow. But he eventually fell to the hands of...
Joseph Stalin.
Joseph Stalin, yes. Or secret weapon, Joseph Stalin. He came out and killed him with his muddy moustache. But there was other many warriors that died of the Canadian men. There was also...
Mr. Cuddles the Dragon.
Bison.
Mr. Puddles the Dragon. Mr. Puddle. He was the defining part of this battle. Mr. Puddles the Dragon. He's the one that went out and...
Farted.
And farted! Yes, he farted in the face of them all. And I have to say, his farts were something quite deadly. Oh, yes. They smelt of...
Petunias!
Petunias. Oh, gosh. How did he know that petunias was the one smell that could easily weaken any hooker or ice cream out there. It just buckled at the knees, my friends. But in his last decisive
Dance move.
moment. What was that, Raz?
Dance move.
His decisive dance move where he swirled the crumping gas out of his butts across the troops. He was struck down by a flying
Popsicle stick.
Just took him right in the belly button, which, surprising to say, was his weak point. But he fell crashing to the ground. Oh, poor Raz. She went up to Mr. Puddles the dragon, held his head in her arms, and she quietly whispered,
You're my favorite deputy.
No brakes on the rape train.
What did Raz say?
No brakes.
Oh.
No brakes on the rape train.
whispered-
You're my favorite deputy.
Yes, she looked sorely into his eyes and whispered just that. Mr. Puddles the dragon, there's no brakes on the rape train. And she remembered that tearful moment as she stood on top Senor Tomato, and she shouted out her final battle cry of...
Jiggle wiggle
Maple
time.
syrup!
Jiggle wiggle time. Maple syrup.
Maples!
Maple syrup. Jiggle wiggle time. Yes.
The top of Senor Tomato, and shouted at the top of her lungs, Maple syrup! Jiggly time! And the Canadian men in turn shouted back,
Press the B button.
press the B button for boosts or for bombs, depending on how you configured your controls. But that was it. That was the day that Raz took on Senor Tomato. But, dear friends, that was not just the end of the story. No, she had to go back home to celebrate this victory with who?
Dr. Roxo, the rock and roll clown.
Yes!
We're back and celebrated with Dr. Roxo, the rock and roll clown, who, when he saw her battle-hardened heroine, or whatever you want to say it, depending on your preference, came walking in, stained in the juices of tomatoes and hookers and ice cream. He looked up at her. He said, Raz, you've done well. For this day, you have...
Cocaine!
You have... cave? And Raz in turn said, yes, I have done just that. And they lived happily ever after. But was that nearly the end? Oh no. What is the moral of this story, my friends?
Never trust a Mexican tomato.
Yes, never trust a Mexican tomato, because no, that was not Senor Tomato that she slayed that day, no. That was his evil twin brother, Senor Genetically Fresh Tomato.
Organic potatoes. This is a story that never ends.
We will continue this in part 2 of Raz and the Battle of Tomato.
Can there be a spin-off series of like, the Fresh Prince of Sombrerotopia?
Yes.
That's for another day, my friend.
Okay.
AJ,
Happy birthday, Raz.
you've done well.